London, November 18, 1910. The police violently attacked a demonstration of suffragettes attempting to march into the House of Commons. 110 suffragettes were arrested, among them Sophia Duleep Singh, a Sikh princess who was Queen Victoria's goddaughter. Sophia Duleep Singh's family history is just as fascinating as she is. Her grandfather was Ranjit Singh, the one-eyed Lion of Punjab. From 1799 to 1837, Ranjit Singh united all the warring Punjab kingdoms into the Sikh Empire. By 1835, Ranjit Singh had 45 wives, and he really didn't need another one. But the overseer of the royal kennels wouldn't leave him alone about how gorgeous his daughter was. After Ranjit met the daughter, he agreed and made Rani Jindan wife number 46 in 1835. Their only son, Duleep Singh, was born in 1838. A year later, Ranjit Singh died peacefully in his sleep, and all hell broke loose in Punjab. In the next 4 years, the Sikh kingdom went through 3 Maharajas who all died mysteriously. Karak Singh was poisoned. Now Nihal's head was bashed in just after he narrowly escaped getting biffed by a stone from a gate. Sher Singh was asked to inspect a shotgun, and the trigger was pulled. When the dust settled in 1843, the last one standing was 5-year-old Duleep Singh. He was crowned Maharaja, with his mother acting as regent. While the Singhs were busy with their backstabbing, the British were quietly building up their troops. By the time of Ranjit Singh's death, the only major region of India that was not under British control was the Sikh Empire. The British were eager to make Lahore and Kashmir theirs. 2 months after Duleep Singh was crowned, the First Anglo-Sikh War broke out. Unbeknownst to Duleep and his mother, the British had struck a deal with Tej Singh, the commander of the Sikh army. After heavy fighting at the Battle of Firoza Shah, the British ran out of ammunition and retreated. Instead of leading his Sikh troops to victory, Tej Singh ordered them to withdraw. Yeah! 2 months later, his troops were camped at the Sabron River when the British attacked. Tej Singh left the battlefield, weakening the only bridge at the river while he fled. When the bridge collapsed, the Sikhs were trapped and the British won a resounding victory. The British thought they could retain Duleep Singh as a figurehead, but they didn't reckon on the force of his mother. This was made clear at a ceremony to reward the treacherous commander Tej Singh with the Kingdom of Sialkot. The British had drawn up the papers, but for Tej Singh to be recognized as the King of Sialkot by the Punjabs, the Maharaja needed to bless him with the mark of saffron and carmine. Rani Jindan counseled her son not to touch the traitor's skin. For this, she was ripped from her son's side and imprisoned in a fortress. Duleep Singh was 9 years old when he was separated from his mother. At the age of 11, he was forced to sign away his throne. The British then whisked him away from Punjab. They would never let him return again. He was placed under the guardianship of John Spencer Logan and his wife, Lady Logan, who set about anglicizing him. Under their tutelage, Duleep Singh cut off his hair and became Christian. In 1854, at the bequest of Queen Victoria, he traveled to England and became a part of the royal household. When he was 16, he was granted an annual income of £25,000 by the India Office as long as he remained obedient to the British government. His repeated requests to return to India and to see his mother always got a polite no. Finally, when he was 21, the British deemed that his mother was no longer such a threat and he could go to India, but not to Punjab, where he could potentially be a threat. The mother and son reunion took place in Calcutta. Rani Jindan refused to leave her son's side again. The British thought it would be a great idea to pack her off to England, so Rani Jindan came to London. For the next 2 years, she reminded her son of his Sikh heritage and the kingdom they had lost. When she died in 1861, he was allowed to bring her body back to India for a Sikh cremation. But since they were forbidden to set foot in Punjab, the ritual was performed in Mumbai. On the way back from India, the ship stopped off in Cairo. This was where Duleep Singh was introduced to Bamba Mullah, half German and half Abyssinian. They were married 4 months later. The couple returned to England and had 6 children. Queen Victoria was godmother to the eldest, Victor, and to the youngest girl, Sophia. They grew up in the lap of luxury at Elvedon Hall in Suffolk. Duleep Singh set about transforming their dour British building into a lavish Mughal palace, complete with an enormous aviary of peacocks and falcons. But the idyll did not last. Duleep Singh knew he was in a gilded cage, and it chafed. Even with all the sumptuous furniture and all the hunting parties in the world, he couldn't fill the aching hole in his heart. In 1886, he sold off Elvedon Hall and bought tickets for his family to return to India. They got as far as the port of Aden. There they were detained and Duleep Singh was arrested. The family returned to England while Duleep Singh raged in Aden, still determined to return to India. For the rest of his life, he desperately attempted to regain his kingdom, thinking perhaps the Russian Tsars would help him, or the Irish Fenians. He died broken, poor, and alone. Back in England, his family would have been destitute, but Queen Victoria felt a moral obligation to her godchildren. The 2 older boys were packed off to proper schools to anglicize them, and a German governess was hired to teach the younger children. As the girls grew up, the palace fretted over what to do with them. Should they retain the title of princess? What should they do with these 3 women who were unlikely to ever get married? The palace decided to settle £600 per year on each sister and gave them an apartment at Hampton Court Palace. By then, Sophia was about to turn 18, and her sisters were 23 and 25. It was high time that the girls made their society debut. For the next several years, Sophia was a perfect English socialite. She became an avid cyclist and a champion dog breeder. All the children had learned a hard lesson from their father on what happens to those who defy the British regime, and the boys were ardent Anglophiles. But India still called the Duleep Singh sisters. The death of Queen Victoria in 1901 and the coronation of King Edward in 1902 gave them their chance to celebrate the new King of Great Britain and Ireland and all the British dominions beyond the seas and the Emperor of India. Lord Curzon, the Viceroy of India, was going to throw the party of all parties. He called the gala the Delhi Durbar and spent a fortune creating an entire gleaming white city just outside of Delhi for the festivities. The Duleep Singh sisters bombarded the Secretary of State, the India Office, and the Durbar Committee for permission to travel. The Secretary of State wrote personally to politely refuse. The girls decided to book tickets anyway. The return to India was a revelation to them. The India Office made sure that the British would not house the princesses, and there were no invitations to any of the garden parties or polo matches. Instead, the women were welcomed by Sikh aristocratic families who were ecstatic that the granddaughters of Ranjit Singh were back home. They spent nearly a year revisiting their grandfather's kingdom. Bamba decided to stay permanently. Sophia returned to England a changed person. No longer content with dog breeding and fancy balls, she first threw her energy at resuscitating the Strangers' Home for Asiatics, Africans, and South Sea Islanders. This was a haven for the Black, Brown, and Asian sailors who had been recruited to haul cargo on and off ships. By the mid-1800s, the British were calling them Lascars. When the ships returned to England, many of these Lascars were abandoned at British ports with no means of survival. Duleep Singh financed the Strangers' Home as a safe haven for destitute Lascars in 1857 when he first arrived in England. But it had been neglected for decades. Now, his daughter took up the cause. After a second trip to India, Sophia found a new mission. In 1908, she joined the WSPU, the militant wing of the women's suffrage movement led by Emmeline Pankhurst. After several years of militant protest, including marches and hunger strikes, a conciliation bill was drafted in 1910 that granted the vote to women householders and to businesswomen paying £10 or more in rental. It was a watered-down bill that did not give all women the right to vote, but the suffragettes were pleased with this first step. The Prime Minister, H. Asquith, however, attempted to prevent Parliament from passing the bill. In protest, the suffragettes arranged a demonstration on November 18, 1910. Emmeline Pankhurst led the march with 8 of the most prominent suffragettes, among them Sophia Duleep Singh. They had just reached the doors of the House of Commons when the police attacked. Sophia was arrested along with 100 other women, but when they showed up for their court date, they found that the charges had been dropped. Nevertheless, Sophia wrote to the Home Secretary, Winston Churchill, describing an assault she witnessed. Sophia got herself arrested again in 1911 for trying to block Prime Minister Asquith's car. Once again, charges were dropped so she wouldn't get her day in court. She was part of the census protest and the tax protest. As the WSPU ratcheted up their demonstrations and began destroying property, many people were alienated, but Sophia continued to lobby for the cause, most famously selling the WSPU newspaper right in front of Hampton Court. The WSPU abruptly ceased their campaigns at the outbreak of World War I. To the consternation of many suffragettes, Emmeline Pankhurst decided that they would now support the British government in war. The British immediately deployed Indian soldiers to fight in Europe. The Indian war wounded were soon being evacuated from the battlefield back to England. Eventually, a charity hospital was set up in Brighton for Indian soldiers, staffed with 17 nurses who all spoke Hindustani. In 1915, Sophia Duleep Singh became one of the nurses at this hospital. In 1918, Parliament passed the Representation of the People Act, which gave women over the age of 30 the right to vote. But they still weren't politically equal to men who could vote at the age of 21. It took until 1928 for women to finally be given the same voting rights as men. Sophia Duleep Singh returned to India one last time in 1924. During this trip, she and her sister Bamba went to their grandmother's resting place in Mumbai. With British power waning, they were finally able to bring her remains to Lahore and lay her to rest with their grandfather, Ranjit Singh. At the outbreak of World War II, Sophia Duleep Singh left London to join her sister Catherine in a village just west of London. She died there in 1948. This is Viva Lamore.